Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Late Night with TrevisMichelle. Yes, you guys know how I like to, I'm giving you time to get your beverage of choice because you see, I have mine here with my Swarovski crystals and my Pellegrino water because I've been, what is it, the last 6 weeks, all I could do was drink like jugs of water. So I finished my, what is it, my radiation treatment. Whoop, whoop. Last Thursday, y'all saw my little, reels that I did, Lord to the gods. That was the longest 30 seconds of my entire life. It took me like more than 24. Actually, it took me the weekend to recuperate over those 30 seconds of dancing. But you know what? When God says you made it and you've accomplished something, you have to give him praise. I'm always going to praise him. So I am TrevisMichelle, host of Late Night with TrevisMichelle, every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same place, same time. We have guests on every week who discuss the ugly side of the backstory. What is that? That is guests sharing their journeys, their challenges, how they overcame to become successful. It's great to look at the shiny object. Oh, you made it. You're, a doctor, a lawyer, an author, successful business person. But what were the steps it took for you to get there? We need to encourage each other that yes, the journey may be hard. It's not always going to be easy. You're going to want to give up, but you can't give up. You have to keep going. And we need to know that you have to go through the process, right? We can't skip. Trust me, I want to skip to the end. I do. I want to be at the end already, but I can't. Just like going through cervical cancer right now, I want to be at the end. I already want to be at part 2 where it's over and I've had my high dose radiation already. My chemo's done and I have all my energy back. I'm back to riding my bike 14 miles. I want to be over there, but I can't. I have to go through the journey. I have to go through the process. And in going through that process, we learn, we grow, right? So either you're going to fight or you're going to flee. And I'm not, you know what? I know how to run, but I also know how to stand up and show up for myself. And that's what we need to do in life, show up for ourselves. So that's what we do here on Late Night with TrevisMichelle. So I always make sure that our guests are going to drop us gems. They are going to share with us how we can stay in contact with them because collaboration trumps what? Competition. And that's what we need to do. In addition, while going through my cervical cancer journey, I was able to publish Boss Up with Confidence. You can go to Amazon and get your copy. I have a signature method. It's called WALK. And W is for willing participant. A is for action steps. L is for love yourself. And how do you love yourself is forgive yourself first. And K, kick butt unapologetically. Now, this Boss Up with Confidence 30-day journal is a little different than others. It's not a brain dump. You don't just throw all your thoughts down there. No, with this, I want you to do work. I want you to be intentional about your growth. So that means you have to stay present. You have to stay conscious. And guess what? We have a psychologist on here today who is going to back up what I'm talking about. Because if you're not a willing participant, if you don't take the action steps, whether it's seeing a therapist, losing weight, stop smoking, whatever those things are, you're not going to move forward, right? So we have to be able to also love ourselves by forgiving ourselves. We need to place ourselves first and foremost before we can try to help other folks, right? On the plane, what do they say? Put your oxygen on first before you help somebody else. Because if you don't, you're both gonna pass out or you're both gonna die. I'm just saying. So we have to then kick butt unapologetically by, and what exactly does that mean? Because someone did ask me, like, we understand it. It sounds great, but what does that really mean? It means that you don't apologize to anybody for your journey, for what you've been through, where you come from, right? Because people always want to tell you about, yeah, but I remember when. Okay, thank you. Do you want us to go in your closet too and spill the gut? I mean, what is that about? Let me grow. Let me get better. You see, I'm doing better. Let's stay in the present and acknowledge that. If you want to talk about the past, say, you know what? I'm so proud of you not being where you used to be, instead of trying to bring somebody else down. Does that make sense? So you stand up for yourself and be like, look, I'm not that person anymore. If you forgive me, that's great. If you don't, that's okay, because I forgive me. Why? Because God forgave me. And I asked for his forgiveness. So you really don't matter as much anymore. I'm just saying. But anywho, that's what I'm talking about. Hi, Angelique. Thank you so much for coming on. You have your copy. Patricia Burton, thank you so much. I see y'all. I'm going to ask that you do share this out with other people because it's going to be so much fun tonight. So let me read Dr. Rochelle Robinson's bio, man. Look, y'all, I am excited. And you know, I'm excited about all my guests, but this is my daughter by another mother. Um, we'll go into how we met and all that good stuff later. But anyway, Dr. Rochelle Robinson is a graduate of Wilberforce University. She earned her school psychology at Farley Dickinson University and her master's of education in school psychology with a specialty in therapeutic interventions at Fordham University. Complete New Yorker in the house, just saying. She is a New York State licensed psychologist who specializes in working with school-age youth, cultural issues, and promoting mental health resources in faith-based organizations. In addition to providing mental health services through Pivotal Point Psychological Consulting, yay, that's her company. I'm so excited. Dr. Robinson is an adjunct professor at St. John's University in Queens, New York, where she enjoys teaching several psychology courses. Dr. Robinson is also the author of Just Me and My Thoughts, a motivational journal for teens to unapologetically express their thoughts. Dr. Robinson is a member of AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and co-director of the Allen Liturgical Dance Ministry of the Greater Allen Cathedral of New York under the leadership of Pastor Elaine M. Flake. So without further ado, who will we introduce? Woo, woo, woo.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here tonight. I know it's past your bedtime. All y'all young people, I don't understand.
We working.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a Grammy Awards or something on. Y'all be staying up late.
Barely these days. Barely. But what makes this so much better is that you told me to just relax. So I am sitting on the couch, and at this point, I am an open book.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, I want to go first into how we met. So how did we meet?
I don't know how old I was. It was in Sunday school.
Yeah, I was her Sunday school teacher. I know. I look so young, right? Yeah,
I know.
I was a Sunday school teacher over the teens, and I was actually pregnant with Khalik at the time with my youngest. Yeah. So.
And it's so funny because even as I did my dissertation, I'm like, ooh, that was a while ago. But a big piece was just the role that adults play in our teens' lives. And I can honestly say that without people like you and some of the other women there, if you all were not there, I don't know where I would be. I mean, I would probably be like, okay. But, you all were like, you can do anything in this world. Like, go out there and get it. So that motivation was just really critical.
And thank you for that. It's nice that you can pour into our youth and then they come back as adults and they're like, look, you meant something. They actually were listening to what I said, but I was closer in age to them than a lot of the other teachers, which was why they had me with the teenagers, because we used to have real talk in there. Even though we were at church, we had some real talk. I told the parents, if you don't want that, then don't let them come, because I'm not going to sugarcoat for them. And I think as parents, we spend too much time trying to sugarcoat when they're going to find out anyway, and they're talking to the wrong folk. So you might as well have the conversation with them yourself.
And that's part of the issue now, is even looking at what churches offer and what teens are getting from that space. There are so many topics that the church is not talking about, and teens who are in church are out here doing a whole lot of stuff. And everybody's like, oh my gosh. And it's like, well, did you talk to them about it? No. So.
And why are we acting as though teens are doing something so different? Yes, technology is different. That's true. It just means that people know about it quicker. But there's really nothing that they're doing now, because y'all, I know church folk gonna get upset, but I'm gonna tell the truth and shame the devil. This is Late Night with TrevisMichelle. Come for me. I'm okay with it. Y'all done some stuff, and I said that y'all done some stuff, but now you're so holy. You acting like, oh my goodness, what did they do? And some of y'all are still doing it.
Yep.
But you make you make the teenagers seem like, and our youth, that they're so horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And they really don't understand the way that it really plays on teens' lives and their psyches, because even in our world, everybody wants to be accepted. You know,
Mhm.
everybody wants to hear, "Oh man, like you did a great job on that," or "This was good." No one likes to hear, "Oh, you're just like your father. You never did this." Teens, like, they hold that. They don't always talk about it, but they hold that information. So,
That's
yeah.
important, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because guess what? During guys, I used to just come on and do my Instagram. Right? I wasn't thinking about being a coach at that time. I just knew I had to encourage people, and I was like, "Come on, um, Rochelle, come on and be on my Instagram." She's like, "Okay." So if you go on my Instagram feed, go all the way down, you will see like my flyers were a hot mess, but I was doing them myself. And she came on, and it was during the middle of COVID. So parents were trying to figure out how
Mhm.
to be teachers at home and how to
Yeah.
deal with their children in the site. And she came on and just gave such good information. So I'm just so glad that,
Mhm.
now 2022, you have your pivotal psych.
Mhm. Pif
Oh my
Pivotal
gosh.
Point Psychological
Right.
Consulting. We are live, honey, live and direct.
Yes.
I feel
So,
like I think at that time I just had the Instagram name.
mhm.
I just had the Instagram name. Uh
And
I
you
just
hadn't
had
even
just
finished.
gotten
Yeah.
licensed, but my business plan was in the works. But yeah, it was very, very beginning stages. Very beginning stages.
And now you're so busy. Let me tell you, only because it's me, she even answers. I can tell you that. Because I was like, oh, am I in between patients? Are you busy? I'm trying to like,
I know.
but she does answer for me. And I thank you so much for that. But I want you to give us a little background. Like, what made you decide to work with youth instead of adults?
What's interesting is I have always liked working in schools. I mean, my mom is a teacher. So, when they would have their little class trips, sometimes she would bring me along. And, that was really cool. So I always knew that I wanted to work with kids. You know, you go to college and you think you know what you want to major in, but doesn't really turn out like that. So originally I wanted to be a pediatrician, and I took chemistry, and it was just like not this just wasn't a good deal. So then chemistry, and then I wanted to be a teacher. I just knew that I wanted to be with kids. And it was so funny because I went to my advisor, and they have you take one of those little assessments, like the things that you're good at and stuff. And it said that I would be a great social worker, a great therapist, a great psychologist. And I said, "Oh, that's all lies. Like, that's not true. Like, they don't make any money. Who wants to go in that field?" Like, oh, so I put it off, and I was gonna be a teacher. And then I transferred schools. I transferred to Wilberforce, and they didn't have education. They had psychology, and everybody was like, "Oh, well, you can do that because everybody does psych, and then you can do something else when you get out." And I had professors that um, they did such an amazing job. I feel like I had a class on on maybe it was like childhood learning, and I really like soaked that up. And my senior year, I went to my advisor like, "Okay, so I can stick with psych, but I want to work with kids. Like, I want to work with teenagers. I know I'm not like the little kids are cute, but I really want to work with the teens." And, she was like, "Well, you could be a child psychologist. You can be a school psychologist." And I was like, "Oh, schools?" I was like, "Oh, I could do that." You know, I would be on the school schedule. It's what I want to do. I'm not working with 30 kids at the same time. I can be one on one, and that'll work. So that was how I got into the field. it was really kind of like psychology is the only thing that we have here and you make it work. But it turned out to be the best idea that came across. And my professor was like, okay, so I teach graduate level work. So she said, so when you graduate from here, like you're going to get a doctorate. Like she instilled that in us. You know, like outside of her office, she had a poster board of all of her graduates that had gone on and gotten doctorates. They were all sitting there with their hats, and she had their name, the school, and their dissertation topic. And every time that I went past her office, whenever I had a meeting or whatever, I would just look at all of the black faces that were on that board that looked like me. And I said, wow, I can do this. And my goal from that point was like, well, I have to get on this board. Like, I got to find a way to get up here. So it was like when I finally graduated, it was really a full circle moment to send her my little photo with all my information, and I was on the board.
Wow. You know what's so important? Shout out to HBCUs
Mhm.
because they are so critical in our
Yes.
communities, and
Mhm.
people like to poo-poo them, etc. But they are very critical because we need to see people who look like us.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to walk past that board and see people as a reminder who look like us, we should
Yeah.
not be trying, and I'm going to say it, we should not be trying to be like somebody else.
Yeah.
We should be able to be who we are
Yeah.
and make an impact in our community as well as the rest. But be proud of who we are and don't make us feel like we have to, we always have to
Oh,
include somebody else. Y'all gonna come, they're gonna come in anyway. That's fine. But we need to still be proud of who we
right.
are, what our heritage is. Because my grandparents went to
Yeah.
Bethune Cookman College, HBCU. I went there for
Okay.
one semester, and that's
Okay.
where they met. But they were actually taught by Mary McLeod Bethune.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That's amazing.
exactly.
Wow.
So when
Yeah.
people look at me and they know I wear my pearls in honor of my grandmother, I have this here, um, my Swarovski chandelier in honor of my grandparents' marriage. Uh, I give them credit for that because she instilled in me, they did what Mary McLeod Bethune instilled in them. And they
Yeah.
had to learn. And, my grandma was a Delta. My grandfather was Q Dog. I know they don't call them Q Dogs no more, but back then they were Q Dogs. So make a side five. And so I just have to throw that in there, okay? Because she's looking at me right now. But
It's okay. It's okay. Tomorrow is her day.
yes, exactly. But so it's really important that even as a psychologist, for
Yeah.
them to see and be able to relate to a Black woman,
Yeah.
because for myself, going through, and I share about my cervical cancer throughout because this is what I'm living with. It's curable, but I talk about it because so many times when we're going through something like this, we want to be quiet.
Yeah.
And y'all know if it was up to TrevisMichelle, y'all wouldn't know nothing. But God said, I have to share it because there's somebody else who needs the encouragement. There's somebody else who's like, oh my gosh, she's still able to do this and continue
Right.
because we have to, right?
Mhm.
So it's my obligation to do that. But,
Yeah.
you know, seeking therapy and finding someone who looks like us is not easy.
It's not. It's not. It is. So, out of all of the psychologists and therapists that are in the US, only 4% are African American.
Wow. Really?
Only only 4%. So severely underrepresented. And there's even a lot that goes into that, in that these licensing exams are not culturally relevant. So a lot of people of color are not passing the exams. Um, so if you can't get licensed, then you can't do like private practice work. Like you can work, under someone else,
Right.
but even then, like the burnout is so high because you really can't charge what you're worth. So you're getting paid like $30 a session,
Wow.
and that's for a full hour. And imagine someone trying to have a life. If you want to have an apartment, if you want to have a house, if you need a car to get to work, if you have to pay for gas. I mean, there are a lot of therapists that are um like they struggle just as much as the people that they work with,
Right.
even for like healthcare.
Wow.
So yeah, so like that's one part. So then you don't have as many folks who are licensed, and then the people who are out there, the need is so great that you fill up so quickly. You fill up very quickly, and even with that, burnout happens with that. And then some people decide to like leave the field because they're like, it's an emotionally taxing job. And I hate to say job career, but yeah. So when I came into to private practice, like I worked in schools for 13 years, and then I left because the bureaucracy was just crazy. Like the
Yeah.
red tape, you're not really able to say everything that you need to say to parents. Like, your child probably does not need medication. Like you need some like parenting skills. That's really what needs to happen, you know. But for a school, it's easy to like put a kid on meds because then they're like manageable. So that's that. But it really didn't take me long to fill up. I would say that it only took me long when I had to find out how to market myself and where to go. Once people knew that I was here, the floodgates opened, and everybody was like, "Oh, I need a session. I need a session. I need a session." Like my child needs this, and the caseload that I have now is really good. It's all teenagers who want to be there,
Good.
so that's amazing. And then the other issue is just insurance. Is that people don't um when people get their insurance plans, they're not looking at their mental health um requirements. They're not looking at that. So they're like, "Oh, okay, if I don't have to pay to go to my regular doctor, I don't, I may have to pay $25 for an x-ray. For my dentist, I have somebody for that." But they don't realize that a lot of plans do not cover mental health, or they decide to get a really cheap like mental health plan, and then they're stuck with having to pay the full fee for a
Right.
session, which for some places can be a lot, you know. There, especially in New York,
What are the ranges?
um, I don't want to say for somebody good, but it it can be between $200 and $300 a session. And if you meet every week, then a month, that's like $1,200.
Right.
There are, like I started off at $100. Besides the fact that my coach was like, "What? Like in New York,
You see my face.
that's what you're charging?" And I learned real quick, so my prices have gone up. But also, like, it's not just about like just like charging people like these prices, but it's that we are people too,
Right.
and we cannot work 52 weeks out of the year. Like your emotional baggage is heavy, and we also need time to like de-stress and to come down. Additionally, if y'all want a nice office, we have to pay rent. So that's something else that comes up. But that, and just the expertise of, I was in school for over 10 years to get the education so that I could properly give you skills that you need to be independent. So I think that a lot of people have to not see therapy as another bill, but as an investment.
That's we forget to do that. I'm looking at other now. Our mental health is just so important and not take for granted anymore. It has to be right there with our physical.
Yeah.
And we can't be ashamed, you know. Even my chemo brain, I literally forgot what I was supposed to say. But with my I had my first session with my mental health specialist provider about going through cervical cancer. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like your voice so strong, you know, to your radiation and blah 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 blah. But there's still some things I need to speak about, right? Yeah. And for me, it's not like I sit there one day, I was like, you never asked God, why are you? I just say, God, what do you need me to do with this? Because you said it's curable. I shall live and not die. So what do you need me to do?
Right. Yeah.
I have my relationship with God. Spirits are good. Honest with my they were and I will not mention their name because it's not important. But that part really bothered me. And it's like, no, they treated other people and they never trusted me.
Right.
Or just because, but as a registered nurse and, you know, our going from heroes, zeros, and people were talking us out, and, you know, now all of a sudden they need us again. You know, there's a whole lot in being fired and people, you know, quitting and all of this going on. We have feelings, and healthcare, we are stressed. So what happens, like now I'm a patient, but we have feelings that are there, and I want to like just kind of talk about it. So I'm being transparent with it, and yes, this is going out everywhere, but it's something that we need to really talk about and not just, oh, it's you and it's not me. We all need it, because I know that you get tired because there are people, you know, you couldn't come on in December because crises going on with our youth. So share some techniques for our youth and with our parents for them to look for signs, you know, of suicide, or that they just need to talk, or to get them to a mental health provider.
I mean, I think that anytime that you see that there's a behavior change, you should definitely open up the conversation of, hey, is everything okay? You know, if you see that they're sleeping a lot, or if you see that they're not sleeping enough, you know, if you see that there's a change in their appetite and that they're eating more, or maybe they're eating less, if they're more irritable, you know, snappy, you know, like sometimes teens don't really know what to say. They don't have like the right words. So they show it in their actions. And a lot of times you will see it in their behavior before it comes out of their mouth. So, you know, I always tell parents to observe changes, you know, just observe what is going on. And what's so interesting about this population, about this group right now, is that they are in touch with their feelings and with their emotions, like for the most part. These these teens actually talk about their mental health like, oh, my mental health is bad right now, or oh, my mental health is a struggle right now. You know, like I think that they have television shows now that speak about mental health more as something that is acceptable, and sometimes it's even almost like a fad. You know, I so I'm a 90s girl. I can watch a 90s show for hours. And I was watching Living Single a few weeks ago, and it was a episode where Khadijah had to see a therapist, and the comments on the show was like, "Girl, are you crazy?" And it was so negative.
Right.
And I was like, wow, it's so amazing how that conversation has now changed to where you have more people talking about therapy in a positive light. So, I don't think, I mean, parents should definitely like observe their kids, but also don't be surprised if your kid comes to you and says, I think I need help. And when your kid says that, listen and move on it. You know, there are a lot of parents that'll be like, why are you depressed? Like, you have a house, you have a bed, you have a television in your room, you have all the food that you need, but there's still something else that they need to talk about, and they may not want to talk about that with you. So I definitely tell parents that if your child is asking for help, make sure that you go and look for it together.
Yeah, that's so important. And because parents just having the issue themselves, so they want to deal with their own stuff and don't deal with, you know, sometimes their children. As
Yeah.
parents, we have to put our stuff aside for it, or and I'm not even put it aside, but deal with yours so that you can have them, because they model themselves after us. And
Yeah.
time for a change. We have to stop saying. And one thing that really irritates me is that the church doesn't help. And now I'm saying it. That is, they don't
Yeah.
help. Not all churches now. There are some
Right.
that do. For the most part, they don't. And they still make it seem as though, well, just come to the pastor. And I say this and you back me up.
Oh, wait.
Anywho, our internet, I guess, is acting a little crazy and it kicked us out. But we're going to keep talking and Dr. Rochelle will come back. But a lot of times what's happening, um, our churches will not, here she is, back
Okay.
their internet. They're not trying to let us be great.
I
That's all.
know. I'm like, the conversation is too good.
Just trying not to let us be great. But the church sits there a lot of times and they don't want us to deal with it. But what I was saying, because you go to your pastor, I understand that you go to them in prayer and all of that for guidance, but that doesn't make them a therapist.
Right.
If they haven't gone to school, they're not a therapist. So I'm just saying that being a pastor, and I said pastor, does not make you a therapist unless you have gone to school to be a therapist.
I mean, I really like that there are some pastors who really are very vocal about saying, I am not a therapist. You need to seek professional help. I think there are more pastors that are venturing into that, but a lot of them are still very resistant, because a lot of people feel like, oh, therapy is taking the place of God. And I'm like, for my teens, well, I don't have, yeah, it doesn't really happen a lot with my teens, but with my young adults, like who are of faith, we definitely, like, when I speak about affirmations, we definitely bring up scriptures that they have and that they use. So like mine is always Philippians 4 13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. That's like my go-to.
Right,
But
right.
that I bring into sessions, like if the person is open to it, but Yeah, I think that a lot of churches kind of do a disservice to themselves when they don't work collaboratively with therapists, because there are therapists who are also Christians.
That's right.
So,
Duh.
you know, it's just kind of like, yeah, like what's going on here?
It,
So I definitely think that both is very, very key.
yeah, because for
Someone
instance,
said God.
if you go to a therapist, well, even my doctors, and I'm just bringing this in because this is what's happening with me. That when my doctor said, I don't understand how you're so positive, like you're one of my most positive patients. And when
Mm,
I tell them it's my relationship with God,
yeah,
it's curable. I shall live and not die. Um,
right.
but I pray and act. And I was so surprised when my doctor said, I'm glad you said that because most people who are Christian will just say they pray and they don't follow what we say. They don't do what they're supposed to,
Listen,
etc. They said, but you are actually praying and acting. I said, right, because faith without works is
books is
dead.
dead.
And
Yeah,
so, then that opened up for them and they were like, we're going to pray for you. I'm keeping you in prayer and stuff. And I'm
yeah,
like, they don't look like me,
yep,
you know?
yeah,
But when we stand on our faith, we can't be shamed as Christians or made to
right,
feel ashamed because a lot of therapists are science. They're into the science. They're not
yeah,
into the God.
right, right.
So if it's not scientifically based and they can feel it intangible, a lot of
Hmm.
times they poo-poo you because I have gone to them and I had to I can't be with you because you don't understand when I talk about God and you go sit here and try to prove. Now I want to fight you because don't be talking about my God. You know what I mean? They don't
Yeah,
understand.
yep,
So it's good to hear that you're able to, you know, you say you're faith based and you are faith based. And that's so important.
yeah,
That's who we are. And a lot of
yeah,
times we kind of lose that because
yeah,
of our profession, because we don't
yeah.
want to talk about it. So I commend you for doing that. Elder Gale says outside resources for the church and outreach. It's God and therapy.
Yeah.
That's so important. So like I said, I want to give you your flowers and commend you for that
Oh, thank you.
because that is so important and people need it.
Yeah. Yeah, like they really do. And there are so many people who are in church who, they say things like, I need a Christian therapist. And it's like, okay, you may not get a Christian therapist. You may get a therapist who is Christian, you know? So people may not have gone to school to do pastoral counseling or anything like that, but there are believers who are, in this field, and I'm actually seeing more of that, and I'm actually seeing more of a growth in Black therapists who are now speaking to churches and doing collaborations like that because we understand what the culture is and we know how like we've been raised that it's always been like church 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 and you don't really feel because you just have to pray, so you know and it's like no, but you can still be disappointed and sad or angry and still believe in God, but it's accepting like what is. And you may need somebody who you can process that with to say, you know what, I'm really upset at God right now because I'm in this situation and I really don't understand why. Like I did everything right. How did I end up here?
Right.
And sometimes you need someone to walk you through all of the feelings and not someone who is just going to say, um, don't question God and just leave it at that and go on your merry way. Because
Right.
that's how we've been taught, you know? That's how we've
That's
been
true.
taught.
We have. We've been taught, don't question. And meanwhile, I be sitting over here. If God is my everything, y'all don't even want to hear. Like I be going in. God, I did. I was like, okay, so what's going on, God? You said that I'm supposed to be, I'm speaking. I'm
Mhm.
supposed to share go through this journey to share my story because it's a testimony and it's bigger than me. Then you need to open doors, God. You need to show up and show out. And this is exactly how I speak to God. I
Yeah,
don't like sit there and I have a certain position. Nah, I'll be like, I'm going
No.
in. And he
Yeah.
answers and he
Yeah.
opens doors because I definitely wouldn't have no late night with TrevisMichelle because this was not me. This was not on my radar.
uh,
Being able to meet people like, Dr. Nikki and stuff, that wouldn't have happened.
yeah.
But we have to also be taught it's okay in church to have a conversation with God.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
throwing out every Bible verse. That's not how I talk. You're not gonna meet me, and you'll know this. God bless you. And then, I'm not gonna throw out Bible verses at you all the time. I'm not. And I think I'm
Right.
happy to see you with our teens and our young adults because we have to meet people where they are. We keep
Yeah.
preaching to people in church, but we're supposed to be out in the street. We're supposed to
Right.
meet people where they are.
Right.
Because some of those in the church, man, they done talked and prayed and they done gone to the altar for the same thing for the last 50 years. We need to be on the street and meet
Yeah.
people.
Because the people that need it may not come into like the building.
Right.
The people that need it the most may not come into the building. You know how many people I have just out here, just out in the world, who not for nothing, they'll just be like, damn, Ro, like you a dope person. Like you really dope out here. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, where you get this from? Like, where you get this from? I'm like, well, I go to church, I read my Bible, I, try to be a good person. Like I treat people the way that Jesus treated other people. Like, listen to this story. Jesus had this going on, and then he went and he saw that they would live in foul. So then he decided to make a change and da da da. And they're like, oh, like that's real dope. Like because where else are you going to see these people? The
Right.
people who are in church are already kind of like in the right space. Like even if they're not fully committed, like they're still somehow connected. But there are some people who are out here who are not connected at all. And
Mm-mm.
you are the only person that they can see that, they can go, oh, this is a real person.
Right.
And it
And I'm not
amazes me.
perfect.
Yeah, it amazes me how many hood people, like people who are just in the hood, are like they grew up in somebody's church
Mm-hmm.
and somebody said the wrong thing and they never went back.
Deuces.
And now they
Church
see
hurt.
all church people are the same way. So
Exactly.
then, like, the light that shines within us has to be bright so that it can overcome whatever they experienced when they were 7 years old.
That's right. Because church hurt is real. We've all been through it. If you've been
Yeah,
in the church, we have all experienced church hurt. I have backed away for a little bit at one point, a couple of times in my
yeah,
lifetime because of church hurt. But I had to realize that was them. It wasn't God. I never backed away from God. Let's be clear.
right.
I never backed away
Yep.
from God, but from the structure or the organization, the
Yeah,
people, and
yeah,
people are going to be people. They're going to, being a believer does not mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean that we don't curse. There's some that curse really a lot, but that's all they do. I mean, they're not doing other stuff, but they just have a potty mouth. And, there
right.
are those that, but they give you the shirt off their back. They have a relationship with God
Yeah.
because my relationship with God has nothing to do with the pastor or the choir or liturgical dance or anything else.
Mhm.
That's personal to
Yeah,
me, you
yeah.
know? And
It's so many people who define their relationship with God, they define it by what their job is within the church.
right. Oh my gosh, you need to say that again.
It's like my relationship with God is defined by how many rehearsals I go to, how many organizations I'm in, what I'm helping with. But we know that some of the people that are involved in a whole lot of stuff who are like the messiest ones.
Yes.
Just be nice.
Yes.
Just be nice and love people the way that Jesus loved other people. That's it. You
Right.
don't need to be on an organization if you're gonna be nasty. That's just one thing.
That, or they come to church and they that's where they have power. At home they may be going through domestic violence, they may
Yeah,
not have a say on their job. They have,
yeah,
I always say watch out for those low self-esteem people, man.
yeah,
They are very, very, very dangerous, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
now they have a position, um, and it could be a co-chair, it doesn't even have to be the chair, it doesn't even have to be a president, but they have a position, and they are absolutely tyrants.
yeah,
And then our youth are looking at them. So now they're going to
uh-huh,
model that because they think that's the way it's supposed to go.
yeah,
And then we end up with it, even more stress on ourselves. So,
mhm.
what are some things? Because I want you to tell people like where they can find you and
Okay.
give some tips on teenagers as well as adults how we can de stress.
Woo, tips to de-stress. I say take a deep breath. A lot of people um a lot of people don't really, I don't want to say they don't take value in it, but they think that it's something that's so simple that there's no way that that's like a helpful thing. But take a deep breath. Even when you wake up in the morning, just always give thanks and express gratitude for another day. I always say thank you, thank you God for giving me another day to make it right or to get it right. That's what I say is to get it right. So, take a deep breath in the morning and throughout the day. Practice gratitude is something else. Be mindful and express and displaying like mindfulness is really taking a moment to digest everything that is going on around you. So, when you're eating, like we always rush to eat,
Right.
actually, like, take your time. Like, put the food in your mouth, chew it, look at the scenery that, you're in, taking all of the, smells, taking all of the taste. Like, these are all things that we, like, rush through.
It
Like, we
is.
just rush through life. But really just take a moment to be quiet and, like, do that. Um, get active, you know? It's a little cold out, but, if you can take a little walk, around the block, get the endorphins going. Those are like the feel good chemicals. Like you get those going. That's a good way to de-stress. Like depending on if you're at home or if you're back in the office. A lot of times we're like sitting for these long periods of time
Hmm.
and everything just gets tight. Sometimes it's good to just walk and just let your mind kind of go free and not really focus on the heavy stuff. I always say to give yourself like a cutoff time. Like my brain shuts off at a certain time, and it's like I'm closing the laptop, putting the phone down because we are attached to our phones. Like I put a sleeper on, and it's so funny because it's on now.
Right.
Uh,
Saying wipe you up. It's my fault. It's my fault.
So so what's so crazy is that like my phone begins to wind down at 10:30 and that I don't accept any calls after that. Like it doesn't ring after that time. So I'm not on the phone late. I try to get enough sleep because when you like a lot of people are working off of like 4 or 5 hours of sleep and we feel like, oh, well, I got 6 hours today. That was good. You should really try to aim to get 7 to 8 hours. Because if not, when you're waking up, you're irritable, you're crabby, everything gets on your nerves. And then it just doesn't make for a good day. Like it makes coping with different things just hard because you're not at your best.
Right.
So those are some um coping strategies that I like to give people. You know, meditation is something else, and you can do it either in the morning or at night. It depends on how your flow is. There was a period where I was like rolling out of bed and just getting in. throwing on clothes and just going to work, and then I would journal at night or, meditate at night. But now I do it in the morning. And then the last thing is journaling. I love to journal. That's part of why I wrote my journal. And I'll come back to that. But the other thing is affirmations. That's a coping skill that I always do. Because you have to talk to yourself in a positive way. Sometimes,
Absolutely.
sometimes it's the words that we speak to ourselves that matter most. So
Exactly.
affirmation
Words
is
are
one.
powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Words are powerful.
Yeah. So that was why I created my teen journal. Um,
Do
I
you
will
have it?
share. I have so y'all shipping and China is working my nerves. They're working my nerves, but I do have. So this is the cover, and I actually have a boy and a girl cover, because I definitely wanted something that young people could identify with.
Mm-hmm.
So boys have their own set of issues and girls have their own set of issues. It's a journal. It's called Just Me and My Thoughts, a motivational journal for teens to unapologetically express their truth. We know that teens actually have a lot to say, but they often do not have the space to actually share it. You
Right.
And I had just some prompts, just some sentences on my laptop like 2 years ago. And as life happened, as George Floyd happened, Breonna Taylor happened, we saw last summer, the summer before, we saw all of the protests, and there were a
Right.
lot of teens that were out there like fighting the good fight. And
Yeah.
there were so many comments like, oh, they're hoodlums, or, they're just this and that. And I really had to say, but these are teens that I know who they've walked to school, just regular teens, and police have like hemmed them up because
Right.
they thought they were somebody. So, there's a reason behind why they're doing this. Like there is a pain behind all of this. And and then it just kind of like expanded to what are the other areas that teens like struggle with. And self compassion and self esteem is something that's really big. They are hard on themselves, you
Yeah.
know. Also, just recognizing what their strengths are. They've been told so many times that they're not good enough, or they say that they want to do something, and their friends laugh at them like, "Oh, you can never do this." But just giving them space to be able to dream, and
Right.
then, you know,
That's important. I like that. Give teens space to dream.
yeah. And then even like overcoming challenges. Like some of our teens have really been through a lot, and sometimes they feel like their mistake was so big that they can't come back from it. And I'm like, if you're 16 years old, you have a lot of life left to live. Like you can change, you can make it over this. So I have that. I have a section on gratitude. Relationships is a big thing, and
Mm-hmm.
not just romantic ones, but just like friendships. I can't tell you. It's been a bit surprising how many teens really have a hard time making friends or interacting with other people. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media. Everything is online now, so they don't really have to talk to anyone. They can
Right.
type everything out. We have a lot of teens who are on like these video games, and they talk to people in other countries, while they're on these games, but they're in school and they literally will have no friends in school. But
Right.
their friends are in China, Australia, in London, so really just like teaching them how to make friends and communicate with people. And then we just another section that I have is goals. Just what are your goals for the future? because some of them are making decisions not thinking about where they're going to be like 10
Right.
years from now. And you can make a huge mistake now that, yeah, you can overcome it, but you'll have to live with the consequences, you know? So those were the areas. So it's 7 areas with like 5 prompts each. And then I threw a bonus prompt in too.
Wow, nice. I'm so excited. So now where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Pivotal Point Psych. Pivotal Point Psych. You can also go to my website at www.pivotalpointpsych.com. And actually, if you go to my website, there is a tab that says JMMT. That's just me and my thoughts. You can purchase a journal from there, and it's really cool. So you can get one journal, or you can get a bundle, and that's two journals. The journal is $29.99. The bundle is $54.99. And for anybody that has orders over like 25, um, you can fill out a form, and then we'll send you a separate invoice. But this is great for, parents to like have for their
Mhm.
kids. If you want your kid to like talk to you more, because we know teens don't always like to talk. They
Right,
keep it all in,
right.
but this is a great way to like start conversations with your teens. So yeah, so that's kind of like the transformation that you will see is that, we want to get teens motivated about their future. Like this whole year has been a year of not knowing what the future holds. And yes, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but we're not going to be in this pandemic like prayerfully forever. So 5 years from now, like what are their goals? But those are things that you can begin talking about, and it won't be so overwhelming for them because they would have been prepped on what to write.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is great. I can't believe our hour is like almost up. I am just so
I
excited. I
know.
hope that you guys were able to really glean. Make sure you share this out.
Oh,
Oh, Michelle said she just placed her pre-order.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Michelle.
Michelle is awesome. Let me tell you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
She has helped pull me through this because she's also a breast cancer survivor.
Oh,
So
okay.
being able to tell me about my chemo brain and
Hmm.
my being tired and sometimes just like I don't know why I'm crying, even though I'm not sad, but
Right.
she's having emotions and stuff. Um, she's really been very instrumental. So I just want to give her that shout out.
Oh,
She has a 15-year-old son
okay.
also, and
Yes.
so she's like all in on this. But
He and spread the word because I'm trying to get this to as many teens as possible. The language is something that teens can connect with. I think that's really big.
right,
No,
because they speak
I was,
differently. And I
yeah.
want to say with I was speaking to my girlfriend and she was like, "Oh, you don't say anything because at the job, I had to just keep your head down and don't complain." And I said, "You know what? We need to give credit to our millennials because of them things have changed in the world because
Yeah.
they said we're not taking it because all you guys from the 60s that were out there marching and rah rah, you got comfortable in your houses, you got comfortable with your jobs, you didn't want to sacrifice that, so you decided not to say anything with all of the
Yeah.
injustices, to close your mouth and then to look down on other people. But
Yeah.
you know what, those millennials were like, nah, this is wrong, right is right, wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, those from the 60s, y'all woke up again and you
Uh-huh.
wanted to walk side by side. But it wasn't because of them. And she was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I said, so we always want to talk about, I love our youth. That's why I was a Sunday school teacher and I wanted to only
Mhm.
deal with the teenagers
Yeah.
because I'm tired of people giving them a bad rep. I said,
Yeah.
where do you think they learned it from?
Yeah.
You. You act like they were born with that. No, they watched you. You know, But I'm glad that they are able to express themselves and say, you know what, I'll sleep on my friend's couch. I'll couch surf, but you gonna pay me. And if you don't pay me when I'm work, I'll
Yeah,
continue sleeping on the couch. You see
they
what I mean? And be a
yeah,
messenger because
yeah,
they know their worth, even if they have a hard time expressing it. But they
yep,
know that what you're paying me right now, $8 an hour, ain't gonna cut it.
right. How am I supposed to live? You can't. You
But
can't.
adults are trying to struggle with 15 jobs. They're like, no, that's not happening. I'm not going to do that.
It's
So
not
I
a
think,
way to live.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
thank our millennials for standing up
yeah,
and having that voice because it got some of the other people off their butt. Because
yeah,
people would always tell me, shh, don't say so. I was like, no, it's wrong.
yeah,
It's wrong. Yeah, just be, I was like, well, I'm not standing for it. There's
yeah.
a way to go about it, whether you're on your job, do your little emails, put everything in writing. I'm a big thing with that. You know what I'm saying? Documentation. There are
Yes,
ways that we can and know who your local and your senators are, etc.
yes,
We do need to be involved with our youth. We have to keep
yeah,
talking to them. When I see, well, before, not now during my treatments, but when I see youth, you know what? We have to say, hey, you know what? You look good today. Or that you
yeah,
see that they're doing something, compliment them. Even on social media, I will go
yeah,
on and comment, hey, I'm really proud of you. And they're like, oh, wow, thank you. We have to encourage them.
yeah.
They're on social media. You need to be on social media too. Stop.
My
I ain't going
teens
to
are
be on
very,
social media. Well, then that means that you're not going to be a part of the world.
yeah. My teens, I embarrass them because I hype them up so much. And they're just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're doing this." Like, and it's so, and even with me, like the connection, like the cultural connection is there. Like this summer I had braids in, and when they logged on, like the girls were like, "Yes, yes, braids." Yes. So it was like I've never worked with somebody who looked like me that
Mhm.
like had their hair like this, you know? So, even when my kids come in, even when they log on and like my boys, when they get their hair cut, like I'm like, okay, I see you.
Yeah, look
Like,
good.
oh,
We
I look
have to.
so dumb. But they need that, like they need to know that somebody is like watching and that someone notices when they do something.
Right.
Like, if you feel if you got your hair done and nobody said anything about your hair. Like,
Exactly. Like you didn't notice?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm going
yeah.
to offer myself to speak. Let me know I am available
Yes.
because, w- our youth need to see our the older adults encourage them and
Yeah,
say, hey, I've been through some stuff and be able to share. And it's not
yeah,
like it was all perfect because we act like, oh, we never went through anything we were just a perfect child.
ugh,
No,
look, please.
you know what I mean? So they need to see that. And this way, it'll allow them to maybe open up more to their parents
Yeah,
and to have a better understanding. And
mhm,
that's what it is, that communication, right? We
yeah,
have to have the communication. But unfortunately, a lot of adults are not equipped with good communication skills either. So we're asking their parents to do something that they don't know how to do.
yep, and a lot of teens are teaching their parents how to do it.
Yes. And
Mm,
hopefully, some of those parents are open and some are not.
exactly,
You do what
exactly.
I say, and period. I'm the parent, and they can't learn.
Yep,
And we all can learn from anybody, okay? And
yep,
everybody.
that's what we yeah, yes.
So, words
So,
are very
that's the
important
story.
because Christian is 3 years old and he was speaking to someone, and they were like, oh, you're so silly. And he says, no. He says, I'm intelligent. That's what my TT told me. And I'm his
I
TT,
love
I'm his
him.
grandmother, right?
Uh-huh.
And she was like, oh, yes, you are intelligent. See, because I've been
Send
saying
it to
that to
school.
him his whole life. You are intelligent. And he really is. He, for
He's
three
so
years
cute.
old, he's just, oh my
Aw,
goodness. Yeah.
aw.
So he's in advanced classes. Like he really is. But I had to tell him that. His father
Yeah,
tells him, but I'm his grandmother. And he sat there and I'm thinking, you're three? And his
mhm.
father was like, yeah. He told her, no, excuse me, I'm not silly. I'm intelligent.
Hello.
My TT told me that.
Yeah.
And he said intelligent at 3. He understand. He
I love
vocabulary
it.
is great.
I
So
love it. He's so, yeah, I
yeah,
love it.
I can hardly wait to get back to him. Because we FaceTime, and I
Yeah.
have to sit there. His father will be doing something, and he's like, "Ma, he's driving me crazy." And he says, "I'm not going to listen to you, Dad." That's what he's 3. "I'm not going to listen to you, Dad, until you put TT on my iPad." And I will sit on this iPad with him. I can't do anything else for
Right.
like an hour to an hour and a half with him. And we'll talk.
Uh-huh.
He'll tell me what he's doing, or he'll watch a show. We watch it together. But
Oh,
it's that time. And
yeah,
even though, and he understands, okay, you can't be with me right now, but we're
but
FaceTiming.
it's still time. Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Yeah.
literally an hour minimum. And
Yeah.
he tells his father, "No, I need my time with Titi." And his
Oh,
father listens. So it's good that our children will speak, but then as parents, we have to listen.
yeah. Very true. Very
So
true.
thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I'm really excited. I can't say enough about
Ah,
Dr. Rochelle Robinson.
ah. And one more thing, I will say that if you go to my Instagram or on my website,
Okay,
join my email list. I send
okay,
monthly mental health tips.
okay.
So,
That's important.
and honestly, because I kind of like to do it, I think I'm going to do it more than once a month. So,
That would
those
be
are pretty
great.
cool. And I do it short, like I don't spam you or anything.
That's okay. Everybody does for mental health tips. And spamming us with some mental health tips is not like such a bad thing, is it?
Yeah, because
I
we
don't, I
all
don't
need
think so.
a little kick.
Exactly. We all need that extra in our
Extra,
lives, that extra.
extra.
So I thank you again so much. So,
Thank
hey,
you
this
for
is Late
having
Night
me.
with Travis Michelle, 10 p.m. every Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time. We will be back next week again on here. And y'all, look, you need to bring your beverage because y'all know, you see, I have mine. I'm so happy I can have my
Fancy.
Swarovski with my Pellegrino um, glass now and not my jug of water. This is still water, but it looks cute. You know what I'm just saying? We'll be on here. We'll have guests. This is Cervical Cancer Month. Women, especially my Black queens, I need you to go and see your gynecologist. I know for some of you, PTSD is real. I'm raising my hand.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't want to go. And that's why I didn't go. And I'm just being very honest. So by the time I did, the cervical cancer is a little more advanced, but it's still curable. But I don't want this to happen to you. So we have to take care of our ovaries, our vaginas, our cervix. We take care of our breasts. We go and have them, right? We talk about the heart, but we need to speak about our purse because that's where they are. I call it our purse. It gives us pleasure. We give pleasure. We give life. So please make sure that you follow up with your gynecologist. Okay. I have to say that. I'm going to be saying that a lot all the time because I just have to bring more awareness. And I am going to keep doing that over and over and over again, especially to our Black and Brown communities, because we take care of everybody else. But we have to now make us a priority. This is 2022. We're making ourselves a priority. Yes, even before your children. Because guess what? If you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your children. So we want to say, no, my children come first. No, 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 no. You come first because then Dr. Rochelle will have an easier time because people will learn that it's okay to put myself first. I'm not being selfish because I make myself important, because I don't accept less than, because I say I'm worthy, because I say I deserve.
Mhm.
Okay. So until next week, this is TrevisMichelle. Hey, y'all know how it goes. I'm too much for some, not enough for others, but guess what? I'm always just right for me. God bless.
Ah.